City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. PO number 6494, an ordinance amending Section 25-100 of Appendix A, zoning as it pertains to the appointment of members of the Zoning Board of Adjustments as requested by Councilmember Mosley.
Councilmember Mosley.
Motion.
I need a second. Councilmember Scott.
Second.
Second that we approve proposed ordinance number 6494. Questions? Councilmember Mosley.
Thank you, Mayor. The reason I brought this up because I was concerned about our existing boards and the way we appoint members to those boards, and I was hoping that council members would look at this as being consistent across the board. Members to the on all the boards that I'm aware of, we appoint as council members. Each council member appoint a member to the board. So I'd like, but I'd also like to ask the city manager if he would, or the mayor would allow a spokesperson who may be available to speak. Is that possible?
Just 1 second. And she can speak before we vote. She can speak. All of our boards. I'm sorry.
I really need to have the Community Development Director, Ron Burton, come to the podium for just a second.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, in perusing the council agenda this morning.
Could you speak in the mic, sir, please?
Yes, in perusing the council agenda this morning, I observed this matter was on the agenda, and so I met with the city attorney, and I brought to her a step in the process of amending the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance cannot be amended by a resolution. It's an ordinance, and it clearly states in the zoning ordinance, section 24. Section I made a packet for the council here to read. 24-100 clearly states the procedure. 24-1 states the procedure. 24-103 notification and requirements. 24-102 clearly states before taking any action, amendment, supplement or change, the council shall submit the same to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its recommendation. You at this stage.
Well, let me ask you something, Mr. Burton. Is this a zoning ordinance or just appointment of members to the board?
It's part of the zoning ordinance. The members of the ZBA it's part of the requirement of the zoning ordinance that the members of the ZBA are appointed, because all the requirements for appointment is ordinance. When we're asking for a change in the way that we select individuals to sit on the ZBA, we are asking for a change. And the requirements are clearly stated in the zoning ordinance as to how we go about that.
Okay, so that's if we're planning action on this. Is that what you're saying?
No, if we're asking for a change as to how we select individuals, it means that we would first have to go to the Planning Commission and the recommendation, who in turn makes a recommendation to the City Council, whether they would uphold it or not, but they would make a recommendation to the City Council. And City Council, you as the City Council, you have the option, to either ask for recommendation or to.
Okay, could you City Attorney for a moment, and then I'll hold my comments or questions for other council members. City Attorney.
Yeah, I just, in this ordinance, what we're asking is we're going to amend section 25-100. We're going to, on that exhibit, it shows what can definitely, what he's mentioning is in the previous precursor to that would be just to go before planning and zoning. They're going to make a recommendation and it will come before council. But any change, because you're actually amending 25-100, so it does have to be seen by them first. It actually be tabled and come right back after they make a recommendation. But any changes to the zoning ordinance, you do have to go before P&Z. And their, determination is the council can make that decision. but you're changing language in the zoning ordinance, so that's.
Councilman Albright?
Thank you. One thing, if this is going to go and then come back before us again, the wording is basically the council will be told at the council meeting and names will be submitted and that's how it's going to work. Well, that isn't going to work. You know, you can't just spring on somebody that night, hey, we need some committee members. You know, like 2 weeks before, hey, have your names ready or whatever else. But also, let's say you need one name and names. How we're going to get through that to one person. Okay? So, you know, there's got to be a process on how you're going to make this thing work, because the way it's written in there right now, it cannot work without a double.
Thank you, Councilman Albright. I guess my question is, what prompted this? And I know, no, not. And you asked Dr. Queen. Dr. Queen, did you want to speak? He said he asked that you speak.
Are you addressing the question to me, then, Mayor? What prompted this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be willing to answer that.
Okay, go ahead. You said
Okay,
you
and
asked
that's in
Dr.
relation to Dr. Queen, because and Dr. Queen with the feelings that they were kicked off the board and without notification, and that they were still willing to and interested to serve on this board. And my answer to her, and I did. I got with our secretary, Ms. Sherry Ballard, and we looked through the process, and she indicated to me that all the board expired. And then I said, well, you know, there's no fuss there. Their terms expired. And ordinance say the mayor selects these folks with council agenda, council approval. I was okay with that. But then I had no reservations about it at all, you know. But then I started getting a bunch of phone calls. We talk on the radio, and folks are complaining, and they want to know, well, why would all of the board members be removed when we're supposed to be reappointing board members? So I'm saying, okay, well, maybe those folks were notified. They never got in contact and asked them if they wanted to serve. I understand that didn't happen. But new board members have been put on the board, and that this has a relationship possibly to an issue that's happening now with the housing project with the Edison Square. And folks, some of the people, or one of the persons on there has admittedly indicated that they support more public housing. In fact, they came on themselves personally that they do support more public housing.
Councilmember, that has nothing to do with.
Mayor, you asked me to
issue.
explain what brought it on. I'm trying
to. Supports public housing or not has nothing to do with this board and this issue.
It does, Mayor, because this person is put on the board, and this person also supports public the issues that are happening in the court, that this person could be, you know, a person who is more partial to public housing. That's what some of the majority council voted for last time. That was in contrast to the board who's all been removed.
You voted for that from this.
I'm kind of like Councilman Albright. We have to be aware of the names.
The names were in there, and furthermore, this has nothing to do with any of that. And to bring out one of the persons on there as being in support of public housing has nothing to do with
let me just ask
resolution.
Dr. Queen if she wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Let us have your name and address for the record, Dr. Queen.
2294 Bayou Drive, Port Arthur, Texas, Lakeside Park Edition. What I'm going to say is that I was appointed to the Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals of 2000. The board decided in favor of residents of the Edison Square project, 21 November 2018.
Excuse me, Mayor.
You are.
I apologize. May
Go ahead.
I
Yeah,
apologize, Dr. Queen. May I say something, Mayor? I
Yes.
apologize, and I hate to interrupt you, Dr. Queen, but this is something that's still a pending case, so I'm not trying to get into your words, but just be, careful when we're talking about information. So I just wanted to let you know that this matter is
Okay.
still pending before the courts.
This is my opinion.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Okay.
just saying we
Yeah,
can't, we
And I
won't be
don't
able to
know
answer
what's
questions.
pending. I haven't come to the board's meeting. I haven't even been
Yes, ma'am.
called to come to any. That's what this is about.
This council meeting, we won't be able to get too deeply into the court case, but I just wanted to
Well, no,
notify
I'm
you
not
of
gonna
that.
even get into
Okay.
the court case.
All right, and I
Okay?
just wanted to let you know.
No.
Thank you, ma'am.
Expired August 2014. We were allowed to continue to serve without being notified. And we were not going to. I found out I was no longer on the board when I called to inquire about not receiving any correspondence in October 2015, over a year after my term expired. Appointed on February 20th, 2015. I feel I and all were not reappointed because we voted in favor of the residents in the Edison Square area. Because I received a call prior to the hearing basically asking me to vote in favor of the residents.
Wow.
After that vote was made, I received another call saying that I made a wrong vote. To me, if I had gone to the legal system about this, some people would be in trouble. And I didn't want to do that. It needs to be taken care of since this is still in hearing. I'm not here to ask, not at all, but rather to adopt a procedure for appointing citizens to by nomination by council members and approved by the majority of council as the Board of Adjustments and Appeals, which is also a board mandated by the state of Texas for all municipalities in the state, to allow one council member to be the sole authority will only result in that individual not reappointing individuals who the way he or she desire, as opposed to voting according to the laws. And last, I would like to inform council, a person serving on the board does not need to be with experience, but does need to be able to read and comprehend what is written to be fair and impartial. That's all I have.
I'm going to make some comments here because enough lies have been told about this whole thing. First of all, a board, lifetime commitment that's made to you. It's an appointment. No one has been removed from this board. They were just not real. As a matter of fact, Mr. Burton presented us with a list of appointments, and we all those appointments. Everybody on this council had an opportunity to say what they wanted to say about those appointments. It has nothing to do, this is not, and I don't appreciate somebody, because I appoint that board, and I don't appreciate anyone making comments like that. That's not true. So these appointments expired 2014. And you have something else you want to say,
Yes,
Dr.
I
Queen?
would. I'd
Good.
like to comment on what you're saying.
Go ahead, then. I'll grant you that courtesy.
Thank you. Saying Ron Burton appointed or gave the names. However, is it a courtesy to call employees that have been on the board to let them know they're no longer on the board? Or do they have to find out by calling and they're still on this board? Is this how the city runs their business?
Did you know when your term expired, Dr. Queen?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's,
But at the point, you can be reappointed.
that is the truth. You can, but you were never contacted and said you were reappointed. You
I
served.
wasn't.
You served until your successor was appointed.
Yeah, but no one called
These
to tell me
names
that.
I approved of. I have no problems with those names or anything like that. Did you say that?
I'm sorry, Mayor, we're not posted to talk about who's on the board. I mean, we are posted to talk about how we can into what happened in other situations is not what is this agenda item
No, I'm
is,
just
but we
talking
can
about
talk
mine.
about the
That's
nature
fine.
of the amendment.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Queen.
But I am perfectly okay with these names that are suggested, and absolutely improper happened here, and the entire council approved of it. So I'm just, Councilmember Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Going back to what Councilman Albright spoke about, we need to put in place that everybody be included with this process. I am aware, I think Burton said that we couldn't take action on this, and I was wondering, Mr. Burton, City Manager, could you have Mr. Burton come up, please?
Mr. Burton.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor.
You was reading to us. This is not an issue that really has to do with the zoning, anything in a zoning board, zoning planning department. This has nothing to do with changing anything there. This is just basically a complete different issue. So that's not the same thing that you read to us, that we can't, as council, appoint or discuss appointing people. I'm thinking that's a different issue.
Yeah. And I understand, Councillor, I understand what you're saying. When you refer to zone as a land use mechanism and changing the land use designation a parcel or portion of land, no. But this forms part of the entire zoning ordinance. And so when if we attempt to change it or to change it, we are actually making a change to the zoning ordinance. And there is a process in place for making a of the zoning ordinance, whether it deals with the appointment of members of the Planning Commission or members of the ZBA. The councillors, one of the councillors stated, the construction board is not embedded in the zoning ordinance. Zoning ordinance has nothing to do with the construction board.
Right.
When it comes to a quasi-judicial body, which is what the ZBA, we with the zoning ordinance, because as a quasi-judicial body, the responsibility of the zoning ordinance and appeals ends there. The next place it goes to is to district court.
Okay.
That their decision that, and we have seen it in the past. It has happened in the past. Any decision that we make, any decision that they make goes to this district court. okay? And their responsibility is embedded and is spelled out in the zoning ordinance. It's not to Port Arthur, you know, it's universally, that's how it is.
Okay,
You know,
when this same board voted once before, it was said that they didn't have the authority to make.
Oh, I'm
We
sorry,
can't
but
get into that one. We
That's-
can't get, and Ms. Tisano has been waiting.
Yes.
can I just,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
anything Appendix A of our Code of Ordinances, that's the zoning ordinance. It was passed at one time. Anything in Appendix A, that's pretty much the bottom line. We have one zoning ordinance that consists of several different chapters. Anything in it, no matter what page.
Even though it's not part of our charter.
The zoning ordinance is a separate, is a separate instrument. We have our charter, we have our code of ordinances, and then we have the zoning ordinance, which. So any one of those items, anything in Appendix A that needs to be changed, we have to go through P&Z. Now, the council can definitely move forward with this. We could talk with Councilman Mosley. We could table it, let them go through their process, and then we just come right back. But anything, any sentence in the has to go through P&Z first, because that is one document.
Okay, I got that.
And let me just add, it
Thank
cannot
you.
be challenged. What I did, I presented you with a packet, Councillor, and the packet states tomorrow, if you file an application with me, I will process for you, and it comes back to the council sometime in November. It's clean. It's the legally responsible thing to do in this case. Yeah.
Okay, and I have one more question for you, Mr. Bird. Even though we've already of the people appointed on this board, and this is my personal opinion. Okay, so I'm gonna share. The board members that is chosen to be on this board, they shouldn't be people who have contracts with the city. If you have a contract with the city, I don't think you should be on those type of boards. Okay, and we have people that have contract with the city on these boards, and this is supposed to be citizens, you know, whereas, you know, they basically looking out for the citizens. And the contract with the city, you know, that's a gray area, you know. So I don't think that people that have be on this. No, that's my opinion. That's what I want to share with you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
City Manager? Okay, Council.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll just close out with this, Mr. Bird. My concern, basically, as you see, there's a lot of very. My basic principle was basically to say that we should amend this, you know, just a few sentences in this language, which basically says that the members of the Board of Adjustment shall be nominated by city council members at a council by majority vote. That's it. There shouldn't be a fuss. Okay? So whether you wanted to, I have no problem with that. But I was hoping we could discuss it, so at least when your board meets again, before you bring it back, just to hear some varied opinions from council members who probably feel the same way. We need to change it, simply because we have a Pleasure Island Commission that council members appoint to the board. We have the Port Arthur Youth appoint to the board. The Construction Board that council members appoint to the board. We have the Economic Development Corporation that council members appoint to the board. But when we get to the mayor. So for purposes of not having what I call possible misconduct, because that's what you just heard from the presiding officer, will not be taken. That wasn't my intent. My intent is to transparency over these boards. Okay.
Council, and to help you do that, what I will do.
And oversight.
And oversight.
Okay. So that's all I'm about. Okay. Oversight and transparency, and that all council members have an opportunity to the board just mentioned. So I don't understand what the big fuss is about. But again, this is just to have you and your board understand that other council members are consistent in the way we appoint people to these boards. Make sense?
Yes, Councilor, and what I will do, I will look at cities in the state of Texas.
I don't think you. I mean, you already have the example sitting right before us. We've got 4 other boards that council members appoint to the boards. I mean, that's not rocket science.
Madam Mayor, the councilman's comments are duly noted. We'll make sure that the
Thank you.
Planning and Zoning Commission the council's wishes.
Councilmember Lewis?
How you doing, Ron?
Pretty good.
Ron, you handed out this
Yes, I did.
before taking action on any proposed amendment, supplement or change. Council shall, that's mandatory. That's mandatory. Shall submit the same to the Planning and Zoning Commissioner for its recommendation and review. The commissioners may, now that's optional, may recommend it, that's not mandatory,
Yes, right.
that the amendment be approved as may, which is not mandatory, recommend a more restrictive amendment than that requested in accordance with Section 7, or it may recommend that the amendment be denied. So what you zoning changes. Now, this ain't got nothing to do with board. Now we're not going to debate that, okay?
Any
We're
change
not
to
gonna-
the zoning ordinance?
In the ordinance, right?
Yes.
In zoning, no, we're strictly talking about a board appointment, so we're not going to debate that, okay? So that, but this is a change that should go back to the Planning and Zoning Board,
Yes.
correct? Now watch this. Government private action. Zoning power may not be delegated to private parties or to a narrow segment of the community. For example, an ordinance allowing private landowners to veto proposed land use changes can be held illegal as improperly. You already know
Madam
what I
Mayor.
meant.
Madam Mayor, I think
Yes.
that the councilman's comments probably ought to be better addressed to the city attorney. If there are no other questions of the council members,
You heard
Madam
everything I
Mayor,
said, city attorney?
I'd prefer that.
But I'm just making a statement to him. I'm just reading to him.
I understand. Yes, and the state law, our ordinances clearly give the authority of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And as we said, we're amending a particular section in the ordinance, so we have to go through this process, and it will go through the process and come right back.
So you agree any amendment zoning order shall go to the Planning and Zoning Commissioners. That's what it says.
Everything goes through planning and zoning, yes.
To be voted, a zoning issue to be voted upon. Council decide to change it. They can do that, but there are certain requirements they have to make.
Right.
But if they don't have the 3/4 vote, it has to go back to the board.
But yeah, and tonight we're talking about 24-100, and that's the process that has to be. So I understand
Right.
what you're saying, and we
It has to go
definitely
back
have to go
to.
through.
But on the 24 amended.
Yes,
With
they
se-
can give
with
you a
7
recommendation, and the
Right.
council can take it or not accept or reject
Well,
it.
but they can amend it on the 24. But they have to vote.
Okay, thank you.
Now, my comments to you, Director of Planning and City Manager. Why didn't you all tell us about this when they passed 1332? Explanation of this. 1332 was passed, a change, did not have 75%, and it did with less than 5, and the 24-102, it was supposed to go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Wait a minute,
It did not
Councilmember
happen.
Lewis, you're out of order.
I'm not.
Yes, you are out of order, and you know you're out of order. That has nothing to do with this ordinance. You are out of order. Don't even laugh, because you know you're out of order.
In court right now.
Councilmember Lewis, you're out of order.
Well, just because you say I'm out of order, don't make me out of order.
Swati, Councilmember Swati.
That's why we're in court right now. Oh,
Break. We're going to take a 5-minute break.
$50,000 with legal fees.
You all want to take a break? We'll finish with it. Councilmember Swati.
$50,000 with legal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney, I just wanted to point something out. I know Ron did a lot of this thing. Section 25-100 of Appendix A falls under the Code of Ordinances for zoning.
Falls under the zoning ordinance, yes.
The zoning ordinance.
The zoning
Okay.
ordinance is it's an appendix to the code of ordinance. It's a
Gotcha.
separate ordinance.
And Section 25A has to do with the appointment of members to the Board of Adjustments.
Yes, it just explains the process.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Albright, as he had mentioned, I've served previously on the EDC, and I've noticed that, council members, two boards that never show up on meetings, and I've personally had that experience where there are some members on the EDC board that never showed up, I've never met throughout. So I feel like if, we're all going to change this process, we need to make sure that there's a good process in place that is followed properly, that, some filters put in where we have proper members that are appointed to boards that are going to be responsible and show up to their meetings and, actually have some knowledge on what they're doing, whatever board they belong to. I see other lights on, otherwise I was going to make a motion, so.
You can make a motion.
No, my light is on.
Okay.
My light is on.
But you've had, if he wants to, that's up to him. He can make the motion. Everybody has to be given an opportunity to speak, and I think we've all, well, Councilmember Freeman, were you on to speak, or?
I was going to call the question.
Okay.
I'm gonna rest my.
Okay. Well, you calling for, are you?
My light's still on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to this item.
Point of order.
What's your point, Councilman?
Where this has to go before planning and zoning, it's coming back to us until it ever gets through planning and zoning.
I'll remove it.
Because it has to keep coming up at every moment, so I say we just remove it.
Okay, all right,
Until it goes through.
all right.
Second.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay. It's been moved and second that we remove proposed ordinance number 6494. City Secretary, would you do a roll call for the vote, please?
Councilmember Albright.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Frank. Yes. Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis. Councilmember Mosley.
No.
Councilmember Scott.
Yes.
Councilmember Swati.
Yes.
Yes.
Measure passes.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Mayor Pro Tem? Councilmember Freeman?
Second.
It's been moved and second that we adjourn this meeting at 7:46 p.m. All those in favor? Aye. Opposers? Meeting is adjourned at 7.